Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball and football. I am your host, John Drummond, aka Top Tier Analyst, and today we are going to be doing an official power ranking for NBA playoff teams going into the postseason. Yes, we have all 20 NBA teams that are looking forward to walk into the play-in or to the postseason, and we're going to be ranking them number 1 to number 20. So starting off this list, we're going to talk about the top 5. I have the Denver Nuggets at number 1, the Boston Celtics at number 2, the Dallas Mavericks at number 3, the Oklahoma City Thunder at number 4, and the Los Angeles Lakers at number 5. Now, the reason I put these top 5 teams is because, one, the Nuggets are the team to beat in the NBA. This team looks like it is very hard to guard, and it looks like for the next 2 to 3 seasons, people are going to be basing their off seasons on how are we going to stop Jokic? How are we going to beat the Nuggets in the playoffs? They know exactly what type of offense to run in these close games. They're very disciplined on offense and defense, and you have 3 of some of the best role players in the league in your starting lineup. A lot of guys have 1 or 2 very good role players. You have 3 and some potential really good role players off the bench in Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. I think this team is number 1. Number 2, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are currently 62-16, undoubtedly probably the most talented roster in the NBA, by far the best record in the NBA, but what stops me from putting them at number 2 is the playoff woes. I think Jason Tatum gives you a game or 2 every series where he's underwhelming. I think that they're not forcing the issue in the paint as much as you would want them to. I mean, Jason Tatum is a guy that's 6'8", 6'9", well over 200 pounds. He should be getting to the rim pretty easily, and Jaylen Brown is probably one of the most athletic number 2s in the league. So they should be forcing the issue to the rim, and they're not. They're taking a lot of 3-pointers, they're taking a lot of mid-range shots, and they're not really getting to the free throw line. And we've seen last year they shouldn't have been down 3-0 to the Miami Heat. They were favorites to beat the Golden State Warriors. They lost that year, and now they're favorites again. It's just like, this is the most dominant team we've ever seen, and the most dominant team we've ever seen throughout a season and be overlooked. Nobody's really saying, oh my God, I'm taking Boston this year, unless you're a Boston fan, and it's kind of crazy to me. So at number 3, we're going to be taking the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are the hottest team in the league. I think they were on a 10-game win streak, and then they end up losing to the Warriors, and then they come back and they have a lot more key wins. I think they're top 10 in defensive rating in these past 2 weeks. Post All-Star game, they have really been good. Luka Doncic might go on to win MVP. He's almost averaging a 35-point triple-double, which is crazy to me. Kyrie Irving has been phenomenal. Dante Exum is a guy that could come in and hit big shots. I think he's 8 for 12 in crunch time in the 3-point line. Tim Hardaway is another guy that's very good. Derek Lively is probably one of the best pickups in the draft, and he complements Luka Doncic so well. And if PJ Washington can hit those jump shots, I think Dallas is going to be very, very dangerous. And number 4, I'm going to be talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I really like what the Oklahoma City Thunder are as a team. The only thing I would really want to fix with them is their offensive rebounding, or the rebounding period. I just think with these really good rebounding teams in the Nuggets and the Lakers and the Timberwolves and the Kings, you're going to see teams like this. Even the Suns can really give you a problem, because Houston Nurkic is one of the better rebounders in the NBA, and you can't give second chance points to teams like the Suns. You can't do it. But I wish that could really get fixed up just a little bit. I'm sure they're probably going to go get somebody like that in the offseason, whether they draft someone who could just be the type of guy that's going to come in and rebound the basketball, or they go get a guy in free agency. Maybe you trade for Andre Drummond, something like that, or maybe you go get Nicholas Claxton. But I just think the Thunder have to touch up on that. But I love Jalen Williams. I love the way he has jumped up as an NBA player. He's averaging 19 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. Really good shooter. Casey Wallace is a great guy off the bench. SGA is an MVP conversation. I think the Thunder are doing great things. And the last team we're going to be talking about in the top 5, we're going to be doing all 20, but this is the 5th team. The Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers are another team that's very hot at the right time. When you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it doesn't matter if you're the 9th seed. People are going to be looking at the Lakers like they can make a run. Depending on who they play, depending on who's on the other side of the floor, they can make a run. And we look at guys like D'Angelo Russell, who is having probably the best season of his career. I know that 2018 Nets season was very good for him, but this season I can argue that he's been a little bit better. And playing with a guy like LeBron James, and it's just, when it's a playoff moment, the IQ, the experience, the talent, it's going to start to show. Anthony Davis is one of the best defensive players in the league, and he's having another career year. Austin Reeves has been phenomenal. I think bringing back Jared Vanderbilt should be very key to this team. I don't know if their chances really hold up on the defensive side of the basketball, because post All-Star break, they've been phenomenal on offense, but they've been subpar on defense. And we've known the Lakers to be a good defensive team, so that doesn't really bother me as much, but I would love to have Jared Vanderbilt back for that. All right, now we got number 6 through number 10. At number 6, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they would be a lot higher on this list if they had their number 2 in Karl Anthony Towns. That was a 22 point per game type of guy that is going to be hard to replace. I mean, Naz Reid has been playing very good basketball since stepping into Karl Anthony's spot, but I just really wish Karl Anthony Towns was there to play with Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley, those guys up there in Minnesota, because this was a special season we were seeing from the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they're currently still at the number 1 seed, so that just shows how good Anthony Edwards really is and how good this defense is, because that defense is very suffocating. Naz Reid can hit the open shot. He's starting to gain his confidence a little bit more. Jaden McDaniels is one of the better perimeter defenders, but I can't just put them in the top 5 yet because they don't have their guy. I just don't believe in the Timberwolves in a 7-game series against the Mavericks or the Lakers, maybe even the Thunder, depending on how Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert can really attack the glass. And at number 7, I have the New York Knicks. This is another team where they could be higher, but the injuries is really bugging me. Like, I really could have saw the New York Knicks making it to the conference finals with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby and Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, because this is the type of team that they're going to out-hustle you. They're going to out-hustle you. They're going to get those 50-50 chance balls. They're going to take charges. They're going to get the offensive rebounds. They're going to play scrappy. And Jalen Brunson's the type of playoff performer where we've seen before. He's outplayed Donovan Mitchell in 2 back-to-back series, and that's who they would be playing in the first round. But I feel like there's a ceiling now. I don't know if I trust them in a 7-game series versus Milwaukee anymore. I don't know if I trust them in a 7-game series against Milwaukee anymore. I don't know if I trust them in the I didn't trust them in the 7-game series against Boston to begin with, but I felt like they could have made it close with a fully healthy team, because you have bodies to throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You can make their days harder. And now that basically your number 2 scoring option is out, it kind of sucks. Now, number 8, I'm going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks on paper is probably better than the T-Wolves. No, I wouldn't say the T-Wolves, but the Knicks. But when we look at Doc Rivers' tenure with the Bucks, they are under 500. They are on a 4-game losing streak, and 3 of those teams are the Raptors, Wizards, and Grizzlies. Now, I don't think in all 3 of those games Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard played together, but this is a team where now you're finishing the season, you have to play the Magic twice and the Thunder. And now you could basically fall to the 4th seed if you potentially lose out. And that's very scary. That means you're going to be playing a team like maybe New York, maybe Cleveland in the first round. Cleveland has a lot of length. And then you're going to have to play a team like Boston in the second round, which is nobody wants to run into Boston in the second round unless you're maybe Miami. Now, I really wish going into this offseason they would bring in more guys on the defensive side of the basketball. You have the shooters. Chris Middleton has been solid since returning. Damian Lillard's a good shooter. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when we think about it, Doc Rivers hasn't been what you wanted. Damian Lillard is on a very big contract. Chris Middleton is not what he used to be. He's basically a shell of himself. And it's Giannis. Brook Lopez is not the defender he was last year or the year before that. And it scares me with the Bucks, because how much longer are you going to take losing very early if you're Giannis Antetokounmpo? I mean, since they won the finals, I'm sure they lost in the second round the year after, and then they lose in the first round. If you can't get Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks to an Eastern Conference Finals, how much longer is he going to want to stay there? When is he going to be like, okay, I can't with this team anymore. It's time for me to find a new job, or time for me to find a new home. Now, number 9, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I really like the New Orleans Pelicans because they have my favorite type of player. I love a good 3-and-D player, a guy like Herb Jones, a guy like Trey Murphy. I love Jose Alvarado. I like CJ McCollum. They definitely need to go get Brandon Ingram back. I know it may be kind of crazy to put them in my top 10 when they just fell to the 7th seed, but I really like what this team can do. But I feel as though Zion has to get a little bit more creative with how he scores the basketball because it's very one-dimensional. You know, I would respect a little bit more of a mid-range shot, a little bit more of a three-point shot from Zion Williamson, but we've seen that he can play make for his team, and you got guys like Trey Murphy, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones around him that can stretch the floor. But once a team really builds that wall around Zion Williams, it's almost like he becomes a little bit obsolete on the offensive side of the basketball, and that's very troubling for me. And number 10, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the way the Philadelphia 76ers have looked, it's only a 2-game sample size with Joel Embiid back, but we have seen the 76ers look like one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference with a fully healthy Joel Embiid, and I love the fact that he's coming back now with a little bit more games left. At first, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. If you look at my YouTube, you could tell that I was not the biggest fan of it, but you could tell in these first few games he's been very tired. He's been gassed, and that's to come with it. You haven't played basketball in about 2 months, NBA level, real game basketball. But I just think these East teams are going to have a very hard time guarding that Maxey and Embiid 2-man, because Embiid's the type of guy where he can make plays. He can make plays with the ball in his hand for other teams or for his other players. We've even seen it without the ball in his hand, setting screens for guys to cut downward to get open for threes. And I just really don't like that matchup for a lot of teams in the East. At number 11, I have the Orlando Magic. Now, right now, the Orlando Magic are the 3rd seed in the East. They would be higher, but the inexperience is what is scaring me. I think the Orlando Magic are a little bit too reliant on Paolo Banchero's offense. I would love to see maybe Franz Wagner turn into that 22, 23 point per game type of guy. I think right now he's averaging maybe 18 or 19. I would love a little bit more consistent shooting around that team. I would love to see Anthony Black get a little bit more minutes as well, because him and Jalen Suggs was one of the better defensive backcourts in the league. I love Jalen Suggs, love Jonathan Isaac, but right now, if the playoffs were to start today, they'd be playing the Pacers. I trust them in that series. The way Tyrese Halliburton has struggled and the way that defense can play around Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, I think that could be a very hard series for the Pacers. But as of right now, the inexperience and how they're way too dependent on Paolo Banchero would scare me, and that's why they're at number 11. At number 12, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, what scares me about the Clippers is they're not the defensive team that they once were. Norman Powell has taken a step back on defense. Kawhi Leonard isn't going to be that full game shutdown type of defensive player. You don't see the energy. I think Russell Westbrook coming back is going to really change that. But they've been struggling. James Harden has been struggling, and I feel like this is the worst time for them to be struggling. I feel like this is the worst time because now you're about to go up against one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the league, in the Dallas Mavericks. I think the West from 1 to 5 may just be locked. I don't think the Suns are going to pass up the Mavericks. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be playing the Mavericks in the first round. It's going to be a hell of a series, by the way. But I would really like to see them warm up just a little bit. PG had about 40 points last night on a game winner against the Cavs. We love to see that. The Clippers are a great team. It's just about figuring it out. It seems like James Harden's starting to sizzle out a little bit. You need to get his confidence back up, and they need that locker room guy, and I feel like Russell Westbrook is that. But that's why I have the Clippers at number 12, and at number 13, I'm going to have the Phoenix Suns. Now, I think the Phoenix Suns could be the best offense in the NBA by far. If you look at what you have in Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, there's no reason why this should not be the best offense in the NBA. Even with guys like Grayson Allen, who is leading the league in three-point percentage, Yusuf Nurkic, who is a great rebounder who can get second chance points, one thing you're missing is that point guard. You are missing that point, and it doesn't even have to be a high-name point guard, because we know Kevin Durant likes to go get big-name guys. It could just be that point guard who's going to give you 8 assists a night, maybe 6 or 7 points. He can come off the bench, but when Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are in the game, or when Devin Booker and Kevin Durant is in the game, or when Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant is in the game, they need to be off ball. These guys are great shooters. I need them to be off ball. Imagine how hard a team is going to be to guard if Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal are off ball all off ball, just consistently moving, setting screens for each other. That's going to be a very hard offense to guard. And I just feel like that has been very underwhelming. There's been a lot of isolation pull-ups, been a lot of isolation basketball. And we all know Frank Vogel is a defensive head coach, but the Suns haven't moved me much on defense. Kevin Durant is probably their best defender, and that's why I have them at number 13. And number 14, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, they have not played as well of late. Donovan Mitchell's fighting with injury. Darius Garland has been injured. This team has been riddled with injury, and I feel like this is the worst time for them to be riddled with injury because we know Donovan Mitchell did not want to come to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I feel as though a deep playoff run is the only thing that's really going to keep him there, and we're not even sure of that. So I think moving Evan Mobley to center is probably going to be the what's the word I'm looking for? It's probably going to be the inevitable decision going into next season and getting a real stretch for. I mean, they've gotten shooting out of guys like Dean Wade, out of Max Strus, but I don't know, man. Playing a team like the Knicks in the first round, I'm really questioning if the Cavs are going to make it past the first round. And number 15, I have the Golden State Warriors. I mean, we all know how good the Golden State Warriors were going to get. I mean, going into the All-Star break, I thought they were going to pass up the Lakers because they were starting to warm up at the right time. Draymond Green is really good. Draymond Green is really important to this team. This team is way better with Draymond Green on the floor and not off of it. But we still see that the talent around them is just very inconsistent. And I like Jonathan Kuminga. I like AirPods. I like Lester Quinones. I like the young talent they're starting to bring in, but how much do you think that is really going to produce for you in a playoff setting? How much do you think that's really going to help you out in a playoff setting to where we have to win this game or we're going home? Right now, I think they're going to be playing the Pelicans. I don't think the Lakers stay in the 8th seed. I think LeBron comes back to play the Warriors. I think that's tomorrow. That's going to be a very big game, and I'm going to watch every second of it. And at number 16 through number 20, the next 3 teams I'm going to get in depth about, but the last 2 teams you guys should know are the Bulls and the Hawks. I'm not going to really talk about them as much, but number 16, I have the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat have struggled on offense, and it's kind of odd to me how they're so okay with, being a play, because this is a talented team. This is a team that at least should be in the 6th seed. If you're asking me, I mean, I think they have more personnel than a team like the Knicks. The Cavaliers have been injured pretty much all season, and they're still managing to be a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. And it's like Miami shooting splits in that playoff run last year was out of this world. Until they got to the finals, I felt like those role players were playing at an out-of-body experience. And now it's like you're not getting that same fire, but you still have great pieces. You have guys like Jaime Jaquez. You guys got Bam Adebayo, Terry Rozier, Jimmy Butler. Haywood Highsmith might come in and have a great game, but it's really confusing. But I still wouldn't rule this Miami Heat team out for the simple fact is Jimmy Butler is a great playoff performer. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the league. So I'm not really out on them just yet, but I don't know. I think they should be fighting for a little bit higher spot in the Eastern Conference. At number 17, I have the Indiana Pacers. Now, the way we were talking about the Indiana Pacers to start out the season around that in-season tournament, the Pacers could have went 7 with the Bucks. If you would have asked me back then, if we would have got a series between the Bucks and the Pacers, which we still might, I think the Pacers could have took that to 6 or 7 games the way Tyrese Halliburton was playing. Now, we know those injuries that Tyrese Halliburton had, those can be those lingering type of injuries. We don't know when he's going to be fully 100%. But for the Pacers, I think the win for this season is getting to the playoffs. Getting out of the play-in is going to be what's very, very important for the Pacers. I think we've seen what Tyrese Halliburton can be as a number 1 guy. We've seen him have 28 turnovers in 2 games with no turnovers, or 28 assists in 2 games with no turnovers. And now we bring in Pascal Siakam, who was a number 2 on a championship team. So I like what the Pacers are doing. I just think the struggles of Tyrese Halliburton is going to limit them this postseason. At number 18, I have the Sacramento Kings. Now, Domantas Sabonis one of the best centers in the NBA. I talked about Domantas Sabonis on my TikTok. I was just talking about how he could have won a championship maybe back in the 2006-2007 season, around that type of time. But now that the MVP is just, you got to average like 35 and 6 and 7 just to get a thought of being an MVP. I don't think he's going to win one. But the Kings have lost 2 key players, Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter is a great shooter. Malik Monk was in the running of being the 6th man of the year. I think that's going to be very detrimental to them. I think they're going to end up losing some games, and I really don't think they're going to make it out of the play-in. And at number 19, I have the Chicago Bulls. I'm not really going to say too much about this team. This team needs to blow it up, and they consistently won't. I really don't want the Bulls to make the playoffs, because if they make the playoffs, I'm not going to watch any game. I don't think I'm going to watch any game. But I have to, because I want this YouTube stuff to pay my bills. But at number 20, I have the Atlanta Hawks. No Trae Young. DeJounte Murray has really embraced that number 1 option, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Hawks do next season. I think you keep Trae Young for another season, because I don't think there's enough on the market right now to try and trade one and keep one, and then you guys get extremely better. Like right now, Trae Young you're going to get more value for Trae Young, but what can you really get from a team for trading Trae Young and then be like, oh, okay, now we're a 5th or 4th seed in the East with all these teams in the East? I don't think so. If you're going to trade one, you need to trade both and really embrace this rebuild. Go get a guy like Cooper Flag and restart Atlanta from the ground up. But thank you guys for watching. This was my 20-team NBA playoff power rankings. If you guys agree, let me know in the comments. If you guys disagree, respectfully let me know in the comments. And I appreciate everybody watching. If you guys like what you were listening to, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out.